Good afternoon, everybody. This is Coach Corey here at Catalyst Sports, going to give you guys another video analysis, a comparative video analysis between one of our students we got in recently the other day, as well as former Major League All-Star Vladimir Guerrero. All right, right now I got both players set up in their stance. Look pretty similar for the most part. Now, stance is one of our positions that's not critically important. However, it is important for us to make sure that we are starting with the back foot square and we have a slight angle here on our shin. And you can see with our student here, we're pretty stacked. The way it's going to kind of drift on the outside of his foot on this direction, this can make it a little bit more challenging to have a linear move forward, which the overwhelming majority of players do seem to have. It's not mandatory, but a lot of players do have a move forward. So make sure we end up at least starting up evenly balanced. I've been telling a lot of my students recently that good athletes are always checking their feet. Always check your feet. Make sure you know where your weight distribution is. All right, now we define launch position as the instant our front toe touches the ground. All right, so I'm going to take Vladimir Guerrero out here. This is a very critical position for us to get in, and front toe touch will be right there. All right, the way we're going to get to this position is loading how we'll say foot forward, hands back. All right, the analogy we will use is there's a rubber band from the knob of our bat to the front of our foot, and we want to make sure that we are stretching out this rubber band. And we can clearly see here that the second line is longer than the first. All right, so let's see if our student here is doing it. Oh, so there's the first thing right here is he's taking a step initially, and he's likely gonna have and he's gonna have another step right here, and there's front toe touch. Try to make sure that your players aren't stepping twice. It's just gonna throw off their timing. It's just a little bit of a little league type move, but most big leaguers don't really do that. All right, but either way, so here's our rubber band. Foot forward, yeah, hands back, pretty good right there, not too bad. What we're trying to avoid doing by way of going out to launch position is avoid stepping and swinging, which is when the knob of the bat or the tip of the bat start to fire before the front toe actually gets to the ground. The opposite problem here is what we will call slipping. That is when the front foot touches the ground too early and the swing does not start right away. Right, so we can see here Vladimir Guerrero is nice and synced up. We're going foot forward, hands back here. Right when we get to the ground at front toe touch, the swing is going to start. All right, but let's take both players right out to front toe touch. We use front toe touch because this allows us to get a reference point at the same moment of time that these players are in. We are now able to quantify some angles and see the difference between each one of them. We can see clearly here our student has his back forearm hanging down a little bit too low, and the bat is definitely way too flat behind his head. Vladdy over here barrels up nice and tall. We want to make sure the bat is pointing, or the knob of the bat is pointing to the ground right in front of the catcher's feet. This will also help make sure that our back forearm stays level or parallel to the ground. All right. The reason this is so important is when the barrel's up nice and tall like this, it allows us to be able to drop the tip down and be able to hit pitches down in the strike zone. If we're a little bit too flat like this, we're really only set up for pitches high in the strike zone. It's going to make these pitches down here much more challenging as we have to approach the pitch way too steep, right? We call that cutting across. I guess that's a separate discussion, but either way, barrel's a little bit too flat. Keep that thing up nice and tall so we're able to get down and hit those low pitches. Overall, it really isn't too bad for this youth player. Front shoulder is up a little bit, maybe slightly up right there. We do want to make sure our front shoulder is slightly down and in, and our hips are square to the pitcher. Not too bad over here. If you can get your 10 or 11, 12-year-old to get into this type of position with the front shoulder, you're really going to be doing a pretty good job. Most little leaguers kind of have their front shoulder sticking up like this with the hands way downhill. The spine angle here looks pretty good. Our spine is going to be our axis of rotation, so as we begin to rotate, we want to make sure that we're just sitting right along that line and just turning. So let's see if our student does that here. Let's make sure he is synced up. Get to the ground at front toe touch. And the swing does start. Very good. Not too bad here. He is coming forward a little bit off that line. It's not too bad. If this was my student, I probably wouldn't be harping too much on it. Might just tell him, you know, stay back a little bit more here, dude. Just a little bit. I don't need anything crazy. Just give me a little bit more angle with your spine right here. Will help you elevate pitches a little bit more versus having our spine real straight. We're often going to hit much lower trajectory type line drives. Now, here's where it's going to get a little bit interesting for us. All right, so Vladdy, as he's coming down here, we can see the tip of the bat is starting to make this nice, good swing plane right here. Bottom of the arc reaches, the bottom of the arc of his swing plane should be right in the center of his body, lined up right with the base of his neck. As Vladimir starts turning, we get to impact slightly out in front of us right here, and we are going to extend the hands uphill this direction. All right, and it's going to keep going. We do want to make sure that our swing is creating a plane versus some type of distortion, which is what you guys are about to see right here. So our student begins to rotate. We're turning. He does have a very nice rotational move. Hips get square, shoulders get square. That's good. Caught the baseball a little bit deep right here. Do want to make sure we're catching these out in front. But what happens is right as we hit the ball, we can see that the tip of the bat ends up going downhill. So if I were to actually trace this, it would look like this. Now we can clearly see, even just from this little drawing, that this is not a plane. Okay, this is what we call a distortion or a sine wave. A plane, by definition, is a flat two-dimensional surface, similar to that of a sheet of glass. Our swing plane right here from our student, this is not making a sheet of glass. We can clearly see that distortion right after impact as the barrel kind of darts downhill like that. A good verbal cue, if your kid is doing this or a player on your team is doing this, is to make sure they are extending their hands uphill. So as Vladdy starts to hit the baseball right here, he is going to turn the knob of the bat around. Oops. He's going to turn the knob of the bat around. It's pointing forward. We're trying to turn that knob around as fast as we can while extending the barrel slightly uphill, making sure that we are continuing to make a plane with our swing. And we're going to go all the way around. So last little thing I'd be telling our student here is once we hit the baseball, man, we're not quite done. You got to finish this swing. We can see the back foot starts to go a little bit. It goes back to that flat position right there. Not quite turning the shoulders all the way around quite as much as we could be. Vladimir here does a great job. He's a great example of what it looks like to have a nice finish, but we hit the baseball right here, and he almost has this motion where we're pulling the bat backwards behind us. A nice finish. You should be, again, finishing on plane, but I do like it when I'm able to see the number on the back of our jerseys right there. It just ensures that we were able to complete a full rotation. We got all the way through the baseball, and it was not done. It was not swinging with our arms, but we were able to swing with our whole body. Please subscribe to our link below if you guys would like some more free content. Any comments or questions or concerns, please post them in the comment box below. Have a good rest of your day.